put on some pounds, you guys.
Heidi's getting fat?
Yeah, Token, don't start ripping on me for having a fat girlfriend, alright? Just try and be cool about it.
Hey, babe.
Oh, hey, Hattie, what's going on?
I'm not feeling the best again. I might see if my mom can come pick me up.
Pick you up? That could be tough.
Oh, come on. He should have some fat pride. Welcome to Azimuth Podcast. I'm Kimberly McNabb.
And I'm Barrett McNabb. The Daily Mail had an article, How Fat Pride Became the New Battleground in America's Culture War. Colorado, the slimmest state, is going to ban fat phobia by law, adding it to characteristics such as race, age, religion, sexual orientation that are protected from discrimination. Right? So state lawmakers aim to ban discrimination by employers and housing, as well as weight-based bullying in schools.
Well, today is the day comedy will have died in America. I better say it now before this gets to Texas, which for now has been ruled against, including fat phobia and anti-discrimination laws. So here we go.
Here we go.
Your mama's so fat. She refers to Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade as Fashion Week. Your mama's so fat. She watches my 600-pound life for diet tips.
Oh.
But in all seriousness, I'm confused why this would include housing of all things. But for employers, as if it's not hard enough to deal with employees and all their personal issues, this will definitely make it a nightmare. You have to give them bigger desks? Aren't they expensive enough?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, other states such as New York, Massachusetts, and Vermont and New Jersey are considering similar laws, but some cities have already gone ahead and enacted these type of laws, such as New York City. And you're right on the desks. I mean, you know, some offices have opportunities for standing desks or even modifiable desks where
and these people want to go the other way.
They want to go the other way. They don't want to do standing desks at all. So yeah, these desks can get pretty expensive.
Yeah, but would this include all employers? Because if you send a 500-pound fireman to run up 5 flights of stairs to rescue me from a fire, I'd say I'm dead.
Yeah. That's a great point. Fortunately, even in New York City, they do exclude police and firefighters. But let's take this up to the national level. I mean, the U.S. Army and the other services have height weight standards in order to make sure that you're physically fit enough, not only to do combat, but make sure that the wear and appearance of your uniform is in appropriate standards.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have somebody that's going to be able to go into combat and lift people and shoot, move, and communicate if they get out of breath from one flight of stairs.
Exactly.
So by putting this into a discrimination category, let's just walk the dog on this. Getting that, if it ever did to a federal level, if it is a protected class, then you actually probably could see people get waivers even though they're obese in the military because it would be a protected class. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's hard enough to carry all that ruck gear, right?
Absolutely.
But we all know that politicians don't exactly live in the real world. So I can seriously see how being obese can affect people from doing all sorts of jobs. For instance, I don't think a 450-pound woman would make a very good flight attendant. Even I complain about how small the spaces between the seats are.
That's a great point because a lot of times people misunderstand what a flight attendant does. A lot of people think that, hey, all they're doing is handing out drinks and giving out peanuts, when actually they're a member of the flight crew. And their main job is the safety of the passengers on board. And so let's just say that you're having turbulence and your little oxygen mask or a decompression of the airplane and the mask come down. Their job is to go and make sure that everybody's being assisted. And the same thing in the event of a crash landing. They're deploying the slides. They're helping people get out. So I mean, they actually have a job. It's not just that, hey, somebody
have to be able to move. move.
They have to be able to move and be able to help people, and that's the problem. It's not just pushing a cart and doing peanuts.
Well, I mean, and people often make the mistake, especially if you're younger, make the mistake that weight is just an aesthetic thing.
Right.
Like they want to look like Ally McBeal. I'm totally dating myself there, but I've seen it affect, people with desk jobs. I used to work with someone, so I was in tax accounting, she was in cost accounting, and she worked with 4 guys, and they were there, early, they were there late, they worked all the time, and I counted up how she was very, very large, not just 40, 50 pounds overweight, 100, 200 pounds overweight. And she was gone so much that I counted up the days over a month that she missed, claiming that she was sick. She was only there 16 days out of the month.
Wow. So, and you would probably attribute some of those health problems to her obesity.
Because when the human body is not meant to handle the stress of that weight. They say that for every pound of weight that you have, it adds 4 pounds of pressure to your knees.
I can believe it.
So if you're adding 100 pounds of weight, theoretically that's 400 pounds of pressure on your knees. And I don't know about you, but my knees would not do well with that. And it stresses your organs, your cardiovascular system. I mean, just everything. So,
well, yeah. I mean, when you look at that statistic, Kimberly, I look back and when I was an infantry platoon leader in Korea. I was carrying a 120-pound rucksack, and it's brutal. I mean, it's brutal. A lot of times, the Army standard is to move 12 miles in 3 hours carrying a 35-pound rucksack. It's the Army standard. You're supposed to do that on a quarterly basis, but that's not realistic. When you put all of your gear, all of your food, all of your ammunition, all of your batteries, all of your the mortar rounds, every soldier is going to carry 3 mortar rounds. I was 160 pounds. Adding another 120 pounds was brutal. Yeah. Absolutely brutal. And so I couldn't imagine my knees if I was 400 pounds, a human being walking around. That's an amazing
well,
statistic.
Speaking of brutal, this type of law, if it's going to be another anti-discrimination thing, wouldn't it be brutal to have another sensitivity training video to watch at work?
Yeah. I mean,
do we need another one?
I mean, so now you have, even in the military, in DOD, there's all kinds of training that you have to go, equal opportunity, sexual harassment training, and things like that. So now it's fat training. Is that another video that you're gonna have? I mean, soldiers are already doing a lot of work, but is that another one that we have to do? That's a great point. It's sad. It's ridiculous. But in Texas, we've already had a lawsuit that was brought by a doctor who claimed that she was let go because the employer was concerned that she could not stand long enough to treat patients. Okay, so does she have to take breaks? Does she have to do this? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Well, don't we have to wait long enough at the doctors without them needing a sit break?
Yeah, I mean, it's bad enough. I have seen medical professionals, and you can't make this stuff up, where I've seen nurses and doctors taking smoke breaks. Medical science has long said that smoking is bad for you.
I have relatives that are nurses, and I just hear so many times, I was supposed to work 12 hours. I had to work 13 hours, and I didn't get to eat today. So you don't need to add a sit break to that as well, because you're probably not going to have the chance to. But, sadly, arguments over this issue have already existed, especially in Britain. In 2018, Cancer Research UK was accused of fat shaming after their campaign stated that obesity is the biggest preventable cause of cancer after smoking.
Wow.
But it's true. It is true. I personally think of cancer cells like people. People love to consume sugar.
Sure.
So do cancer cells. People like to smoke. Cancer cells love it when you smoke. I bet these are also the same people who in 2020 said, follow the science.
Okay, yeah.
So would it also be illegal to tell someone to watch their diabetes too? when you're going for that cake?
That. Again, you've made a lot of great points on this. If you're looking at the overall health and well-being of a human being, to add a risk factor to any of the diseases that are killers, heart disease, diabetes, things like that, it just makes it so much harder when you're obese. I mean, it just absolutely makes it so much harder. So, again, if you make it a protected class, do all the second and third order effects, such as follow-on diseases that are totally preventable in this particular instance, are those going to modify healthcare as we know it?
Yeah, exactly.
But, some of the activists are saying that dieting is dangerous. And, whenever I think of somebody going on the crash diet, it probably is dangerous. I mean, but if you are doing
the yo-yo dieting,
yeah,
that's the worst.
Exactly, just going up and down. But there's numerous articles that show that intermittent fasting is actually good for you. I think it comes down to our hunter-gatherer, lifestyle before we developed cities and agriculture. You were only going to eat what you were catching or what you were gathering, and so you probably didn't have 3 squares a day.
Right, and multiple religions, far back as man, have had practices of fasting, whether it was just during the day or for a month at a time, or just over the course of one day for a religious reason. So that dates back far past the Twiggy days.
Right. Well, I mean, it's kind of interesting that when you have all these diets, the paleo diet and the Mediterranean diet and all of these that are intermittent fasting, carbo load diet, it just kind of, with all of these diets that you have out there, it's amazing, who's right. I mean, who's right in doing this? I mean, I always kind of laugh, and both you and I laugh at these fitness influencers that say, if you want to look like me, you need to follow me, and this is what. Yeah, everybody was 21. Yeah. Everybody used to be 21.
Yeah, if you're having a hard time at 18, 21, whatever you are, it only gets harder.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So I mean, that just makes us laugh. That when you're 21, you should be in relatively good shape. So be a fitness influencer at 50,
and then I'll be impressed.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do worry that normalizing things like this fat acceptance. We used to view these things as commonly as undesirable characteristics and habit, and these habits influence children too. So like I went to school with a girl in middle school, and she was 5'5", 13 years old, 180 pounds. She would actually tell people she was 180 pounds, and I saw how she ate. Ice cream, chips, king-size candy bar, soda, like every day after school before her mom picked her up. And I saw her again a few years after college. She had gotten even bigger.
Okay.
And very unhealthy, big girl. And then a couple years after that, I saw her on Facebook, and she had gotten married. She and her husband had lost a ton of weight. Like, she's probably 140 pounds, looked fantastic, and, looked very happy. And then she had her second kid, and they had gained a lot of the weight back, not nearly as much, which is understandable. But the problem I had is they fed their kids the way that they used to get to as big as they were. That's the part that upset me.
So they knew better.
You're the parent. You're in charge. You know how hard it is to lose that weight. You know how hard it is to be the fat kid. You know it. You know what it takes to lose that weight later, and you were setting them up for a very difficult time.
Right.
And, these kids, they can't go out and play like their friends do. I mean, I saw a kid, he was 6 years old. I was 14 at the time. And he said he weighed 100 pounds. No one's going around asking him. He just said it. And there are all these, and he was, first grade. And all the kids in his class would run around, screaming, jumping up and down, climbing all over things, not out of breath, having a great time, not thinking about all the climbing and energy they're using up. And he's just walking from one side of the playground to the other, not climbing a single thing, not getting on a single swing, out of breath. And,
it becomes a quality of life issue there.
How bad would you feel if everyone around you is getting to have fun and you can't breathe?
Right.
I mean, that's the one time in your life where you're not supposed to feel the pain out of falling out of a swing or out of a tree, and you're supposed to run without thinking about it. You get all hot and sweaty in the Texas summer. You don't think about it because you're too busy chasing a ball and chasing your friends and having a great time. That's supposed to be the one time in your life where you feel like you have wings that are unclipped. And by doing this, these parents have clipped these children's wings.
Oh,
and that's the part
agree.
that gets me mad.
I couldn't agree more, Kimberly. This is, especially if you go back to Michelle Obama's, when she was the first lady, let's move, because every first lady has a project, a project that they do. But her let's move and working on nutrition and working on getting children to exercise daily, weekly, things like that. It seems as though that we're going backwards with some of these laws.
Well, if you saw the things that they feed some of these kids in schools, I mean, they have fast food companies come and setting up shop there. That's where most of it begins.
Right. No, I couldn't agree more. The school lunches, obviously they need to be good, and the counter argument is well, we have to feed the kids food that they'll eat. Okay, well there needs to be a happy medium there, but still getting out on the playground and getting kids to move and things like that. When they look and they see, well, I'm a protected class, so I can be this way. I think it's a negative influence.
Yeah, and it enables people, and people, we're denying ourselves a sense of accomplishment when we do tackle hard things by just enabling people to just lay around and everything's okay. Because if you say, no, this is not okay, and people overcome certain things, they get that sense of accomplishment. I mean, there's a sense of accomplishment of climbing the mountaintop, finishing a marathon, building a company. And we, as a culture, are just celebrating, mediocrity.
Right.
And so if you're good, if you're okay, then what's driving you to do those things? I mean, we don't have Mr. Olympia on the cover of magazines anymore. We have people that haven't done really anything. They haven't built anything. They're just on the cover of magazines because they're unusual or they're different. It's like a pregnant man on the cover of Glamour in the UK. I mean, what does that mean? Yeah,
I mean, as far as this goes, the campaigns for all of these companies that are saying, hey, look, big is beautiful, and Victoria's Secret switching out their angel models that were skinny, for plus size models and things like that. Well, that didn't sell. Victoria's Secret's going back to the angel because they're like, look, people don't want to see this on a magazine cover. Glamorizing unhealthiness, I think, is the wrong answer. Now, making fun of people, that's wrong too.
Right.
So
we're not
the
advocating
bullying
for that.
and stuff like that. I mean, we're not advocating for anything like that because that's not fair either. Nobody should be bullied for anything, which was Melania Trump's First Lady project, was to the anti-bullying message. So everybody, the First Ladies have a good one, but still, nobody should be bullied. But we just need to stop making things harder for people to thrive at the risk of somebody's feelings. Again, no need to be cruel, but sometimes people need to hear some constructive advice.
Exactly. Now, speaking of cruel, if you were affected last year from all the delayed Southwest flights, remember those cancellations?
Yep.
Well, they just said, let's make getting to your destination even more cruel and difficult by giving away seats for free to larger customers. Now, I don't foresee rebooking your flights being any easier with more seats being taken.
Well, yeah, I mean, so there is an article that was written by a plus size obese woman talking about travel hacks, and so she seemed to take great pride in taking advantage of a clause in Southwest Airlines ticket policy. And if you, before boarding starts, if you are obese and you need extra room, you can go up to the ticket counter and request a large person accommodation and get a second seat for free. And you get to board first before everybody else to make sure that you get that second seat for free. Which
is very valuable in a Southwest flight.
Yeah, I mean, that people like spend their entire life trying to accumulate loyalty with Southwest to be able to board first. But so she was saying sometimes she got 2 seats for free. Sometimes she would get an entire row.
Can I identify as being big?
I mean, seriously, right? So but still, she was writing this article and calling this and putting out on social media as a travel hack to get these free seats. So if that's true, and more Americans are obese, then you're limiting the airplanes to half their capacity. And so, how do you fix that backlog that you just mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, as if airline seats aren't expensive enough too. But we do want to know we're not being fat phobic. First of all, I'm not afraid of fat people. I'm afraid of being fat. There's a difference.
Well, okay, yeah.
So, I mean, come on. Some of the funniest comedians on earth are big, and
right.
I love comedy shows. So
this is a shout out to you, Fluffy.
Yes. Second, we read an article, and we are on the side of a fat person.
Yeah, absolutely.
In an article in the Daily Mail, it has an obese woman who booked an extra seat for her cross-country trip. So she paid for this extra seat.
Which is different than getting it for free from Southwest.
Exactly. And she just happened to be sitting next to a woman with an 18-month-old in her lap. Now, since the kid is under 2, it is allowed for the kid to sit in the mother's lap for free. Now, she could have bought the kid an extra seat. That was an option. So anyway, the kid, as kids do, they become fussy. And when the kid became fussy, the mother became irate with the obese woman for not allowing her son to sit in the obese woman's extra seat that she paid for.
Yeah, that's wrong.
I mean, last I checked, if you pay for something, you're supposed to get it. Like, if you go to a pizza place and you buy 2 pizzas to take home, they're not going to say, oh, let's give it to our delivery driver who's not making a lot of money and having hard times, or whatever you want to switch the scenario out with.
Now, I think as we read that article, that not only did the mother of the child glare at the obese person, but the rest of the passengers glared.
A lot of passengers and the flight attendant.
Yeah,
that's the worst one. They know the rules. They know that this woman paid for her seat, and I'm on this obese woman's side because
Absolutely.
Too often we see the opposite scenario where an obese person bum rush to get seated first so that they can sit down first and they can raise the arm seat, and so essentially get an extra seat for free while the not so big person is sitting like this on a seat that they paid for 5 hours.
That actually happened to you.
Yes.
Right?
So Delta.
Delta.
Still bitter. So anyway, I'm in boarding group, whatever. I guess it was after this guy. And he's in the middle seat. And I'm in the window. And when I got there, he had already had the armrest raised. And he had to, because there was no way this guy was fitting in his seat. And this was maybe 8 years ago or so.
Okay.
And for at least 3 hours, I forget how long the flight was, I'm sitting on my right hip. And I had to go get like 3 chiropractic adjustments, and I had a marathon, the next day. And so my back's all jacked up. And I emailed Delta saying, look, if someone can't put the armrest down, I mean, theoretically you have the luggage rack things that you're supposed to, put your carry-on over if the flight attendant asks you to make sure that your luggage is what's supposed to be the standard size, even though many people sneak luggage on that I could fit into. Still, if the armrest should be a guide. If they can't put it down, they need to purchase an extra seat. And instead of just saying I'm sorry from Delta, they say, how do you think that person felt? I'm sorry, they weren't sitting on their right hip smashed up into the wall for 3 or 4 hours.
Right. And you have a bad back.
Yes, and I paid full price for my seat. So, yeah, I'll give up my seat when you give up some money. That's what the woman should have said.
That sounds good. I mean, hey, she can have the seat, $700 or whatever the price was. Or even if the airline wanted to give $700 in credit and refund the money so that the mother isn't paying it, fine, whatever. But with the flight attendant trying to pressure the person in, then that immediately becomes a corporation problem, and they should have ponied up the cash.
What would they have expected if someone had said, carried like a tuba, because some musicians they pay a seat for their musical equipment. You're not squishing a gigantic tuba or whatever large instrument you're carrying on. So if they had purchased a seat for their gigantic tuba, you're going to expect, where are you going to put that tuba? Like, I paid for a seat for this thing.
Yeah.
So what would your expectations be then? So this is just another entitled parent, and they make people look bad.
Right. So anyway, we saw this law and we wanted to bring it to your attention because it turns out, in states as it populates throughout the rest of the United States, being fat is going to be a protected class. And this just made us kind of sad. So thank you for listening, and stay tuned after these messages.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy our show with all the stories we share, we would love your support.
And it's as easy as clicking that subscribe or follow button. This will ensure you never miss an episode and keeps us bringing you these important stories. Your support makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast family.
Thanks, and keep tuning in.
Welcome back to Azimuth Podcast. I'm here with my wife, Kimberly McNabb, and I'm Barrett McNabb. So Texas has arrested thousands of illegal immigrants at the U.S.-Mexico border as the state expands powers to arrest migrants. Now, let's set the stage. We have had almost 2 million border interactions with illegal immigrants coming across the southern border. And it's not just Texas, the southern border, so Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California. And we have over a few thousand people just sitting on the opposite side of the border that have already gotten there. But we also have another caravan of people, thousands and thousands of people that are forming at southern Mexico to make the trek. And they're very jubilant. They're carrying signs, they're playing music and things like that. So not some of the things of asylum seekers because they just have a horrible life. These people are having a good time. And Texas has said the federal government, it just is not doing enough. Now, these are statements of fact that the federal government's not doing enough. This is not open for debate. You keep having the Biden administration saying that the border is secure. Clearly,
yet they do nothing. They're gaslighting people.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just keep putting up these photographs of just thousands and thousands of people coming over every day, and this is not a racial issue. A lot of times people are saying, "Oh, you're being racist just for Hispanics," but you are having Russians, Ukrainians, Chinese, Haitians. Yes, there are Latinos that are coming across as well, but
they're actually getting to be more of a minority of the people coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. So the federal government is not doing their job. I feel that Biden has betrayed his oath of office in order to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So I'm not necessarily saying that this is an invasion, but they are foreign. They're not American citizens, and he should be prioritizing American citizens over people that are sneaking across the border when there are legal ports of entry available. And that's the huge difference. And I think attorneys always say that's a distinction with a difference. And so if we did not have any legal ports of entry, obviously that might be a different conversation, but we do have legal ports of entry, and we're talking about people crossing the border illegally in the hopes that either they get in or they just get caught. And they all have kind of the same talking points. I'm here, I'm in danger in my country, and I'm seeking asylum. And once they say that, they're coached to say that. Once they say that, then it triggers a bunch of protections due to international law and things like that. But what Texas is doing is they have passed a law, and it goes into effect when, Kimberly?
March, but they've already arrested many people. So how do they do that when it's not in effect until March?
Yeah, so this is genius. What state of Texas has done, and this is the DPS, the Department of Public Safety, operating under Operation Lone Star, which Governor Greg Abbott has been running for a number of years. But they have gotten together with property owners and ranch owners along the border, and those ranchers have said, look, there's people that are coming across my land and they're trespassing. And so by preemptively saying anybody that's coming on my land is trespassing, property rights say that the state of Texas can arrest them. And I think it's a great idea. I mean, it's a great idea because, again, these are not people that have come through the legal ports of entry and gone through customs and talked to an ICE agent at the border. These are people that are going across private property, sneaking into the United States.
Yeah, and if the federal government wanted to argue, well, it's a federal border, but, why would it make a difference if the property owner's piece of land is on the border or if it's an Amarillo? Like if they're in Amarillo, there would be no question, which is north part of Texas. Oh, they're trespassing. Well, they're also trespassing on the border. It's their land. They paid for it. Again, back to the point of, they pay for something. They should get it. They
should have protections.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, no, I agree, and so the difference is Texas in this particular instance is not necessarily protecting the federal border or protecting the state border. They're protecting individual property owners, and by having these people trespass, they can be arrested. Now, the law that goes into effect in March is going to give the ability for law enforcement to also just arrest, even if they're not on private property, just if they are an illegal alien that has crossed the border, not through a port of entry. The judges, the state judges in the state of Texas will be able to deport those people as well. Now, let's talk about that. So there's already been a number of lawsuits by the ACLU saying that this violates their due process and things like that. You're wrong. You're just wrong on that. They are coming in illegally and they're trying to sneak in. And so I don't think that it applies. I mean, the federal government's job is supposed to do this. If the federal government can't do it or is unwilling to do it, the state of Texas is stepping up. Now, let's talk about other laws. So you have states like California, Oregon, Washington State, Colorado. They've all legalized marijuana, right? As a state, they made a decision to legalize marijuana. Federally, marijuana is illegal in the entire United States of America. But the states are choosing to ignore federal law and set up these marijuana dispensaries. And so if a state can do that, then why can't Texas enforce its border and ignore federal law and get rid of these people?
I'd say mic drop on that.
Yeah. I mean, any of the states that are saying that this is inhumane, you're already violating federal law. So you should all be arrested, honestly. I mean, every single state legislator that voted for it is technically conspiracy to commit drug dealing. I mean, that ultimately is what's going on with that. So as far as the judges, what the federal government needs to do is they need to deputize and federalize these state judges in order to allow them to take the load off of the current federal judges, that are immigration judges, that have a caseload of 4,000 people per judge. 4,000 people per judge, and these judges, they're not appointed like a permanent federal position. It's actually kind of a job, and so the Department of Homeland Security and DOJ is looking at hiring more judges in order to take this caseload off. But I would say, why not just deputize federal judges, or excuse me, state judges, to be able to take some of this caseload, because Texas is going to do it anyway with their judges. Also, I think a great plan would be to deputize and federalize military officers. When I was an officer in the United States Army, I sat in and was the judge in multiple Article 32 hearings where you had a prosecutor and a defense attorney arguing cases, and I was the judge, and I would adjudicate on my recommendations to give to the chain of command in order to whether or not to prosecute this person or what. And so the U.S. Officer Corps, doesn't matter what branch, I was in the Army, but the U.S. Army Officer Corps is capable of making these determinations. So I don't see why you can't deputize military officers and power through this caseload and take care of it. I mean, a lot of times people that are sneaking across the border are counting on the fact that it's a long caseload.
Oh, yeah. And they could be long gone.
They could be long gone. And yeah, you may get deported, but it's years before your case gets heard. And then you can make this argument, well, I've set up a whole life here. I've been here 10 years. Why send me home now? And I think this would be a good way to do it. But Texas is keeps doing inventive things. They put these floating barriers to stop people from coming through these areas, and people are saying, the ACLU and things like that this is just inhuman and cruel in order to stop people from coming. And there's even a news article that I read about that it's cruel that the wall is too high. It's 18 feet, and the article insinuates that that distance was deliberate in order to break the ankles of people that climb over the wall, and when they hit the ground, that they break their ankles.
Well, hello. These people decided to cross illegally. They could see how tall the wall was.
Right.
They knew that. I mean, come on. If you have a functioning enough of a brain to get you to the top of, how tall is the wall?
18 feet.
18 feet. Then there is a risk that something is going to get broken. I mean, come on, treat people like adults.
So now these people are going into the medical industry and medical healthcare, and we're having to provide healthcare services for these individuals. We've talked about this before. The purpose of the wall and the purpose of the floating barriers is to divert people to the legal port of entry. Yes, it's supposed to stop you from coming over at that port or that point, but if you go to the left or to the right or to the east or to the west, you're going to run into a legal port of entry, and that is what the walls are designed to do, is just to prevent you from sneaking across. There is no wall at the legal ports of entry. There is no barbed wire at the legal ports of entry. There's no floating barriers at the legal ports of entry. Yeah,
I view the idea of a wall, the border, as like the zigzaggy, rope lines going into a security checkpoint at the airport. Like, you can come in, we just need to make sure you're not dangerous first.
Yeah, in the military, we use those concrete barriers just like that. It's called a chicane, and it's meant to obviously turn people, which is an Army tactical task, but to turn people to go the direction that you want them to go. And that's the same thing as those rope barriers.
Yeah, people are coming through your front door. They're probably, meaning well. Right. But if someone sneaks across your gate or your wall, like a lot of rich people in River Oaks have these walls around their homes, if someone's climbing the wall, it's pretty safe to assume they're up to no good if they're not coming through the front door.
Right. We're a nation of immigrants, and immigration is good, but it is definitely not fair to people who wait in line in their home country, apply for either a work visa or a residency card or things like that, and they have to wait in line sometimes for years, and they get here and they get a green card and things like that, and they're great stewards. Now, again, immigration is awesome. The United States needs legal immigrants. With the fact that our birth rates are going down, we do need more people in the country. But
we just need to make sure you're a good person first.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with all of the open borders and we have data on who is being caught. We don't have data on who has gotten through, and according to a news article I read, a rancher in Arizona is saying that he has seen on his property MS-13 scouts. And MS-13 is an El Salvadorian terrorist organization, criminal group. They're extremely violent. In fact, I want to say a lot of their initiations is you have to chop somebody up with a machete in order to be initiated. There was some unfortunate teenagers that were killed by MS-13 up in the New York State area. And I mean,
these are not people you want trespassing on your lawn.
These are not people you want trespassing. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And he's seeing them. And these people are scouting positions because you have to remember that this is an organized operation. This is organized crime to get these people across. Now, it was kind of interesting when Donald Trump had a news press conference, and he talked about the coyotes, and MSNBC and NBC and CNN all made fun of him like coyotes are coming across. I mean, don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. Coyotes are the slang for the people that are doing the human trafficking. But they all pretended they didn't know what that was, and that Donald Trump was silly for talking about coyotes coming across the border. Don't be stupid. Don't be that person. It's slang for the people that are committing these crimes and getting people across the border. But this is just another thing where Texas is leading and stepping forward and doing the right thing. Leadership is hard, and Governor Abbott is doing the right thing, and he's doing it because the federal government is failing. So we wanted to bring this to you.
Yep.
Thank you so much, and please stay tuned after these messages.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy our show with all of the stories we share, we would love your support.
And it's as easy as clicking that subscribe or follow button. This will ensure you never miss an episode and keeps us bringing you these important stories. Your support makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast family.
Thanks, and keep tuning in.
I promise to smack that ass. Booyah! Is that something you say in front of a minister or your grandmother? Welcome to Azimuth Podcast. I'm Barrett McNabb, and with me is Kimberly McNabb. So we have this viral video that has gone on, and it is a travesty. It is a travesty. So we're going to go ahead and show this video, but we have two. So this is kind of a condensed video that does a little selective editing, and we'll show a deeper video that shows more.
I promise to smack ass every chance I get. That's all I got.
Is that it? Come on, Cody. Are you sure?
I didn't write nothing down.
That's what you're going out with?
That's what I'm going with.
Cool.
We've made it this long.
Well, no one seems surprised that he said that.
Well, I mean, there was somebody that said, "Come on, Cody." I mean, so you can hear somebody, at least somebody is disappointed. The minister looks disappointed.
Well, he didn't look surprised, though. And then he's like, I didn't write nothing out. Grammar Nazi here. Yeah, he sounds like someone who's a real provider right there. And then he's laughing at himself like he's high or something.
Yeah, I mean, we made it this long. Why is he there?
It's a very
He doesn't
attitude.
Yeah.
Like, if she walked off right now, would he care? I'm under the impression that he wouldn't. He's very flippant.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. You want to. This is a woman that you love. You want to be able to participate in a wedding. It's her special day, and I think
He probably doesn't understand that message.
I don't think he does. But let's go ahead and watch the longer version of the video, because again, this was a little selectively edited to cause maximum outrage. It's not that it improves any, but
I would say the longer one's worse.
Yeah, especially since it turns out he's invited his ex-girlfriend from high school to sit at
That's a no.
the main table and give a speech and things like that. So anyway, let's go ahead and watch the longer version of the video. We are, just so we don't get any copyright strikes, we will stop the video a couple of times and do a quick discuss.
I'm Cody's ex from high school. We have had a special bond that was indescribable. Since then, you have distracted me, captivated me, and challenged me in a way no one ever has. Loved me when I was in a million pieces. It's like trying to solve a puzzle when you don't know if you have all the right pieces. I say I wouldn't be more proud in the man, dad, and partner you are today. I mean it, and I have fallen in love with you over and over again. Always be true to you.
All right.
So I noticed
She did a good job.
Yeah, she did a good job. I do notice that she has a ton of bridesmaids. I don't like that many people. But he only has like one person and a ring bearer, it looks like, and that's it. Maybe that's indicative of how many people who can stand him.
Right.
Yeah, and did she mention that he's a father, so they already have a kid
together?
So,
they've been together for 10 years, and they already have a child together. So, I mean,
she does probably know what she's getting herself into.
Sure, obviously. So they've been together for a long time. Now, obviously, she's reading. So these are prepared. These are prepared.
She took the
marks.
time to write something.
Right, and she wants to make sure she gets it right, so she's reading it off a note card, and I think it's beautiful.
Yes,
I think she did a great job. So we're gonna keep on going.
To support you, to frustrate you, and challenge you, to hold you accountable, and to share with you the most beautiful moments of my life.
I promise to smack that ass every chance I get. That's all I got.
I'm wondering if he's.
This is either going to be the most beautiful couple ever, or we're all going out in the same bolt of lightning. Either way.
So the minister has a little bit of a sense of humor. He has a good sense of humor. Obviously, he's gonna.
It's like, I'm going to hell for officiating this wedding.
Yeah, exactly. And it's clearly he's gonna do a little bit of helping, and he's gonna help prompt a better response. So let's see if we can get one with some of the nudging that the minister is going to do.
Cody, please proceed.
She's the brains of the operation, so.
Okay.
Apparently you don't put that on here.
Cody,
It's on the wrong hand.
yeah. So that's the right. Yeah. So let's try.
So he's
that
having
again.
trouble getting the wedding ring on the correct hand.
Maybe he wasn't the one to propose.
You say words now.
I love you. Promise to frustrate you all the time.
Promise to frustrate you all the time. Good.
Promise I'm not going to listen to you. I mean, I will listen. I got that backwards, didn't I?
Is that it? Are you sure?
I didn't write nothing down.
That's what you're going out with?
That's what I'm going with.
Cool.
We've made it this long. Wing it.
Yeah, like you did.
Totally relate to whatever crazy stuff he puts KK through.
Okay, so let's talk about our wedding. So our wedding was a Justice of the Peace wedding. We had some close friends that were there. It was right before we left to go to Africa for 13 months. And this person had an opportunity to write down the wedding vows. And like I said, she did a great job. He obviously had the same amount of time that his wife to do the wedding vows. So what was a surprise during our wedding, and we'll put a picture of us getting married here, was that the pastor, out of the blue, said, okay, say your wedding vows.
Yeah, Justice of the Peace type thing. I don't know. We didn't really expect it.
We didn't expect it. So we came up with our wedding vows on the fly, and we both did a good job.
Yes, I think so.
I think so. I mean, because we love each other, we respect each other. We're spending the rest of our lives together, and it was beautiful, beautiful moment, and we did a bazillion times better than this guy who knew it was coming.
Yes, and he's been with her 10 years too. On top of that, I would be. I don't know. I would like to think my family would just drag me out of there.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously in the first clip you could hear it's a different angle, but the first clip you can hear somebody saying, "Come on, Cody," trying to prompt him to do better. Obviously the first clip that we saw, it's selectively edited just to say that that's the end. In the longer video, he does.
I'd say it got worse.
It got worse because he's like, I'm not going to listen to you. I promise to frustrate you. These are all endearing qualities, for a husband to have.
So good.
I mean, women like that, right?
Right. Yeah. You know what most people do on their wedding night, right? Well, she'd be totally justified in refusing to do that on your wedding night.
You're sleeping on the couch.
Yeah. And it's bad enough, to say you will listen to someone and then not, but I guess at least he's honest. But he just comes across as really smug, and the worst smug people will have no reason to be smug.
Right. And again, to have an ex-girlfriend giving
that is
speech,
a hard no.
And it looks as though she's a bridesmaid. She's dressed
table.
She's dressed as a bridesmaid, or she's got the same dresses that the bridesmaids do. So that's just weird.
Wrong.
Weird. Absolutely weird.
Well, and then, this guy goes, "Oh, lovely," after they're announced. I mean, it's so sarcastic and rude and childish. I was listening to Ben Shapiro once, and he said that nothing really makes you ready to get married. And, for major milestones in life, nothing really truly can make you to be ready for something because you've never been in that position before.
Sure.
And he says you don't meet someone and then decide you are ready. You decide first, and then you're ready to be, you decide that you're ready, and then you meet someone. And I'm guessing by that he meant like you kind of attract someone that you could marry. And we could argue, what order it goes in. But I think we can agree this guy not ready to get married with the maturity level of a 15-year-old.
Yeah. I mean, I would have, I guess if I was the spouse, I would have said, hey, look, I really want this to be a special day. Because obviously the guy is a jokester, and that's his personality. Clearly, he didn't invent that personality for that day. But she could have sat him down and said, look, this is going to be...
My grandma's going to be there.
Yeah. Can you please rein it in and even...
Or at least not during the speeches.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, this just made me shake my head. Especially since I'm a little older than the average person that's getting married. Was
You were 37.
37 when we got married. That's right. And so does maturity have something to do with it? I don't know. But if she's going to have this active partner in life.
It doesn't sound like he's going to be very active.
No.
But
no.
A lot of responses online are, they feel sorry for her, she deserved better, blah, blah. And I'm like, I mean, I understand that, and she definitely put in the effort towards the day. But, after 10 years together and a kid, I mean, she kind of knew what she was getting herself into. And so I do expect people to be treated like adults. And unfortunately, she's gonna get it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I agree with you. I mean, obviously, his personality is this, and so just being that jokester and sarcastic personality. So again, I kind of feel as though he underperformed.
Yes.
In his on his wedding day, and I'm sad for her. So. Anyway, best of luck to both of them. I hope they do have a wonderful life together. But we saw this, and we just wanted to give our take on it. So thank you so much for listening to this episode of Azimuth Podcast. Stay tuned after these messages.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy our show with all of the stories we share, we would love your support.
And it's as easy as clicking that subscribe or follow button. This will ensure you never miss an episode and keeps us bringing you these important stories. Your support makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast family.
Thanks, and keep tuning in.